we are now welcoming on the Heister Automotive Group hotline Riley Leonard, Duke's starting quarterback. Riley, thank you for taking the time. I was just telling the listeners about.
Absolutely.
I was just telling the listeners about some of your basketball exploits that are. I mean, the highlights are pretty darn impressive from your high school days. Being at Duke, on Duke's campus, have you gotten to play any pickup with the basketball team?
I haven't. I can't jump like I used to be able to, but I've been able to sneak into Cameron a couple times with those guys. They humbled me pretty quickly. I couldn't play at the college level, but it's definitely fun to get out there with those guys.
The articles are pretty praising your basketball prowess from back in the day. I don't know if I believe that you don't have the bounce you used to, because we've seen some of the explosiveness on the football field. Looking at that from the outside, and we talked about this earlier this week on the show, it seems like there's a lot of hype in it, and it's kind of getting carried away with some of the other quarterbacks in the ACC when it comes to the preseason rankings and the lists and everything. Does that bother you at all when maybe your name isn't brought up as often as the stats and the production says it should?
No, I mean, I don't really spend too much time thinking about that. Why worry about something you can't really control, right? So, I'm just going to go out there and play the best football I can play. And those guys who are getting that attention, I mean, I'm happy for them. I'm not going to root against anybody. I know that's like the politically correct answer or whatever you may think of it, but why spend time worrying about somebody else when all you can control is yourself? Good for those guys. They're good players.
So at no point in time, like, when you're, I don't know, 9 sprints into 10 gassers and you don't think about it at all to get that extra little bit of a burst?
You're trying to trick me here. I'm not going to say I never think about it. There are times where I can use it as a little motivation, but it's never out of spite to any other player by any means.
Riley Leonard, Duke's starting quarterback, connecting with us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Riley, what's the biggest difference between last season when Coach Elko was establishing himself in the cultures he wanted in your program, and now going into the second season where he has players like yourself and other veterans that can get the thing rolling maybe without so much oversight?
Yeah, so the biggest difference, and he talks a lot about it, it's what to do versus how to do it. Last year, we were just trying to figure out, what do we do? What do we do in this situation? What do we do when this play's called? Me personally, what do I do whenever they bring this blitz? This year, it's how do we do it? How can I step up to the line of scrimmage, know exactly what to do? How can I communicate better with the offensive line? How can I make sure Jalen Calhoun's running, 6-step out route instead of a 5-step out route? These little details are something that we've really tried to embrace this offseason. Obviously we know what we're doing now. It's how do you perfect it?
That's even more interesting when I look at your returning pass catchers, right? It seems like every single one of them are back on campus this year. You brought up Calhoun, Moore, right? Some 60-catch guys. What's the next step for the passing game? Is it, like, when you talk about perfecting it, is it more sight adjustments? Is it more adjustments at the line? What's the next step to get that passing game to the next level with so many of you so familiar with each other?
Yeah, I think the best thing for a quarterback and their receivers to do is to watch film together and for them to see film through the eyes of a quarterback and to know exactly what I'm thinking on each play. So every single practice, we get all the guys in the wide receiver room and we watch practice together. And I walk through, hey, here's my progression. You can take a little bit more time on the backside. Or if you're first in my progression, hey, I need you to hurry up. We can't make this a square cutout. We need to make this a speed cutout. I'm constantly talking to them so they know how I think. That way I can deliver them the ball. And then same with them. If they see one thing, it's very important for a quarterback not to try to take over, the offense and be too authoritative. I'm constantly asking, hey, what'd you see? How can I help you? It's just trying to help each other out. That's what gets you to the next step.
Are you growing in your responsibilities when it comes to the coaching staff? Maybe a little bit more. I played college football, and the dream is to be Peyton Manning out there, right? Where you see something and you can take advantage of it right away with hand signals and audibles. Do you have a little bit more freedom to do that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Coach John tells me all the time, I have the keys to the car. When I go out on the field on offense, no matter what check I make, he's going to say, hey, good job. And if I make the wrong one, I say, good job, good try. Let's see how we can make it better the next time. So I have full control of every decision that I have every time I step out on the field.
We're talking with Riley Leonard. He's Duke's starting quarterback, junior, coming off a 33 total touchdown, 6 interception season a season ago, getting ready to follow that up this year. Riley, you ran for a bunch of yards last year, 13 touchdowns, second most amongst FBS quarterbacks, but you also took quite a few hits in the process. Sometimes, right, the contact started on the 4-yard line and you were able to drive it into the end zone. Has there been any discussion this offseason about protecting yourself, maybe more sliding, getting out of bounds? You said you don't have the same bounce you used to on the basketball court. Is that because the body's getting a little beat up?
No, but I feel great. I play the game a little bit differently. I'm a competitor, and although Coach Elko, every time I get hit, yells at me, he understands that I'm going to put my body on the line for the win. He gets the way I play, and he knows my mindset. So yeah, there are some instances where I can slide, and I will slide this year. Hopefully, I say that now, but in the game, who knows what I'm going to do. But yeah, my body feels great, and hopefully, this year I don't think I'll have to take off and run at all. I mean, we have a great offensive line that's coming back, a lot of veterans, and a lot of new guys that are stepping up, so it should be a lot of fun.
Give us some of those new guys. What names should we be looking for when Duke takes the field this season?
Yeah, Justin Pickett and Brian Parker are 2 guys that have had a great offseason. We got Jay Corney-Brooks, who's a transfer from Stanford, and then, some new true freshman guys that have come into the program. And you may not see them this year, but, towards the end of the season, they can make some big strides and, get out there and, block their tails off for me.
Riley, we appreciate you taking the time. Last question for you before we get you out of here. I know you're on a time crunch. I will for forever and ever say the person that knows how good a defense is actually that team's starting quarterback from facing them in practice as often as they do. What's the scouting report as far as like how ready your defense is to get after it once the season starts?
Yeah, I love having a great defense because every day when I step out at practice, I see so many different looks. Obviously, Coach Elko is a defensive-minded guy, so he throws a lot of stuff at me. We got, the majority of the D-line coming back. Our linebacker crew is starting to become pretty depth. And then obviously our secondary are guys that are going to fly around, Brandon Johnson being one that's going to, kill you in the run game and the pass game. So I'm excited to get out there and fall camp and play against those guys.
Riley, we appreciate you for stopping by. We'll check up with you again next week at the ACC football kickoff.
Sounds good. God bless.